Hey everyone, welcome to our July Founders Deep Dive. So, for those of you who don't know, this is where Ty and I take a step back and dive into the real conversations around the journey behind building. So, what it looks like, what it feels like, and everything in between that comes with it. Before we jump in, we're just going to do a little bit of house check. Make sure you're subscribed and sign up for our newsletter so that you never miss an episode. Our next spotlight is going to be Sunday, July 26th at 4 p.m. EST. And as always, we're featuring founders and leaders and the why behind their brands. So, to start us off, hi, I'm Starah Dixon, founder of Mitsu's, a story driven platform connecting intentional collectors to original works by emerging artists and studios. Through Mitsu's, we don't just showcase art for acquisition, but we actually work to spotlight the narrative, process, and the deeper ethos behind each piece and the artists who create them. So, on to you, Ty.
Hey guys, for those who don't know me, my name is Tysheda, known as the Signature Global Experiences Architect. I use my expertise in 20 plus countries and over a decade of experience to help people elevate their travel experiences worldwide. And I also work with founders and CEOs to really build transformational retreats so they can take their audience outside of the digital space and build more in-person connections. So we are so excited for today's Founders Deep Dive is a conversation that comes up a lot, especially when building and trying to build out your next move. We're talking about building a brand versus building a business and what that actually looks like and what comes first. Because a lot of people start with one thinking it will automatically lead to the other, but they're not the same. One is visibility, one is structure. One is how you're seen, the other is how you operate. So today, we really want to unpack that. Where should your focus be first? Can you build one without the other? What does it actually look like to build both in a way that's aligned and sustainable?
I will definitely say that I do enjoy this topic because it is part of the season that I'm in.
I mean, when you're an
Like,
entrepreneur, you're pretty much in all the seasons all the time.
all but especially with my Mitsu's relaunch, I would say that for me, just like taking a step back, and just as you said, it is about visibility, but I would also say within the structure part of it, I feel like it's about monetization. So, like, trying to focus on, like, kind of like which one is the most important. I feel that if you have time to build out your brand and you don't want to, like, really start with like how much something would cost, yeah, building out the brand visibility would be the most important. And it's at least like a way for you to start ramping up anticipation of your business and start getting the word out, seeing if it's even a business that you even want to get started in, and, like going that route. And then monetization is definitely when you're closer in line. So that one can just be just like in some ways, but strategically talking about your pricing and like really like coming out with the product and letting people know like, okay, you can just go straight towards the cart immediately. I would say for me, it's very imperative because the way that I'm looking to build out Mitsu's is as a true legacy brand and also one that does not grow quickly. So for me, I actually find that I have to merge both situations simultaneously. The way that it would look like is gaining visibility from artists. Granted, I'm not opening up the door to like a whole bunch of artists coming on the platform and just becoming one of those platforms where it's like everyone's here, but like there's no focus anywhere. Like, since I'm really focusing on the narrative of it, it's getting artists to understand what it is that I'm doing. That can be on social media, definitely like Instagram, for example. And then monetization is where, like, for example, like the interior designers come in, the collectors and people of that nature, like the ones that are actually going to purchase. So I can't say that it's been easy. It's been fun, but like I can't say that it's been easy to figure out and navigate, like which one I'm like specifically looking to do. But I will say that, to be honest, like visibility for me, if I were to outweigh both of them, in many ways, visibility is the most important because, like I said before, like that would lead back to like legacy and impact and things like that. But yeah, so what do you think?
For me, I think they're both important, but obviously it depends on like your business, to be honest with you. So for me, for instance, yeah, obviously the business is very important. The business for me is kind of the structure of the foundation of how it runs. And that has to do with the systems, the clientele, like the stuff that keeps not only me and my team together, but also to keep it structured so my clients know the type of service and the type of quality that they're going to be getting also. That's
Yeah.
very important. Now, the brand side of it is obviously the visibility in terms of how you're promoting, how you're getting new clients, how people are seeing you, but seeing it in a genuine way to not be putting on a facade, be
Right.
putting out something that you're not actually following. It has to be what, your brand represents. So I guess for me, I think they're both important, but I probably say for me, the business side was built out first. My business side was built out years ago, and that was also, it had a lot of tweaks, it had a lot of shifts because some things that when you're first starting out, you think is going to work and you think things that manner, but then as you go along, you realize, wow, if I would have known this 5 years ago, I would have had a lot less time, I would have more nights that I was sleeping. I would have had a lot more time to do other stuff, all of the above. The business side, and on top of that, too, it has to come down to the systems. It comes down to how things are run so that I can make sure that it's being performed at a way that I can do it, but also the way that my team is able to do it in the event that I'm not there or I'm busy doing something else. Another important factor too for me for the business side of it is it's also how my clients know the type of service that they're getting because they know if they reach out, oh, you need this, I'm sending it to you because I have it already on your profile. Oh, it's something that you previously already booked or something previously we worked together. No worries, I can look back because I have all that listed. It really helps the foundation of the business. Now, the brand side of it, that's something I didn't start getting into until later in it, once I really I really found, but also how important social visibility is and how awareness of it so that people are not just seeing it, but they're also being aware of like what you're doing. Sometimes you feel like you do so much and everybody knows what you're doing, and really no one really knows what you're doing besides the people who are coming to you or referring you. So I started getting into the visibility side much later on. However, now in the market that it is, visibility is very important, especially if you're just starting out, because the market in general, almost any industry you're in, is so very concentrated right now because there's so many people who do the same thing, which is amazing. But you really have to put it out there so people know not only what is different from you, but also so they can understand who you are, who you serve, what you do, so that your people can come to you versus them just guessing like, okay, well, I see a logo and I see some words, but what do they really do, and like what is it important? And this doesn't have to be someone, you don't have to be in business for years. It has to be really based off of your skills and your expertise. And I feel like brand awareness is so important because that's what people not just comes to you, but they trust you. They're more comfortable knowing that, oh, okay, this person isn't just someone who built a website and just because they woke up one day and said, oh, I want to be a business owner. Like, no, like this person, like they're putting out valuable information. They know they have ways to be in contact so that if someone has questions, it's not just an automated message and they never hear back from someone. So I do feel like they're important, but I do feel like business is still important, but I feel like now when you're just starting off, you do kind of have a little bit of level of starting your brand visibility, but you also want to make sure you have a structural business that can operate when you're not always, so you don't always have to be on at the same time.
Yeah. So from what you also described, it's interesting because I feel like we definitely did look at the question like in two, it's still complementary because like it's still like in line, but like in two different ways. Whereas, like, for example, like I looked at it in terms of like the visibility versus monetization, but like your visibility versus structure. And I mean, in that sense, I guess we're gonna create a little triangle.
We're just going to connect the dots. We're just going to,
Like, hey, why not? More room, the merrier. But yes, with regards to structure, I feel like that is definitely one of the most important proponents of like the business, especially like starting out. And I feel like that's regardless of like what industry you're in, because yes, you do want to make sure that people, like, once you have people coming into your business, you want to try and do it as smooth as possible. And like that is whichever way like you're able to build it out, whether it is through creating resources and ways for people who are coming on board as like staff and assistants and things like that, making it easy for them to understand it, or even sorry, that first. Anyway, or even with regards to the people that are coming on a board to, let's say, okay, well, I guess like for me, let's say like the artists, right? Like, and just knowing that there is an easy way for them to get from point A to point B. Now, when it comes to visibility, 100% with regards to the trust signals. And I say that because every single day someone is building out their business, right? And so you don't know them from Adam. And so the most you can do, even with like a business that like just like started or is, like has been there for a while, is look them up. Like that's usually what like people end up doing. And so the least amount of information you have out there, it doesn't necessarily mean scam automatically, though sometimes it does. But but it is something where like people have to be more cautious about in terms of like doing their due diligence to make sure that it is actually like an established brand or whatever the case may be, whether that's through like searching other social channels or even, for example, looking up if the business is an actual registered business, like different like metrics. Like it's kind of like you have to create like a whole different house. So I feel like one of the best ways outside of, for example, social media to do it is definitely getting into communities that will assist you with hyperlinking your business in some ways. So that's whether it's collaborating with another company and now you have like different hyperlinks that like tailor back to your business, or even just like have like different champions even in comment sessions and comment rooms. For example, the sometimes toxic, depending on how we use it, Reddit. I'm like, shout out to Reddit. um but you could find like a lot of gems there from people who are just inquisitive or inquiring. And sometimes I've noticed that certain brands even create the conversation by themselves so that they know that, okay, people are going to eventually search for it, so like let me just put my business out there and show them that I've been starting this like from the grassroots from day one.
No, I definitely do. I agree with you on that aspect. And there was actually two things. One, definitely community, very important. And that comes down to just the support itself, because sometimes that's how you build the spaces in the rooms where you build connections, because not only are you supporting other people, but they're supporting you. And sometimes that happens even in rooms that you're not in. And that's just because you built the community, the support, that trust and intentional. So people know that, okay, you're not just saying this because you just want someone to refer you out and to give you business, but it's not going to be reciprocated. It's more so just because you genuinely want them to succeed and they sincerely want you to do the same. So it makes us so much of a difference, and also makes you feel like you're not in it by yourself, especially if you're a solo entrepreneur in the beginning before you can even think about building a team out. It really definitely helps you be able to lean on people who have been in the same path, walks of life and things of that manner, on that note. And then the second thing I wanted to say was, in the business side of it as well, your structure doesn't have to, systems don't have to be multi-million dollar systems. You can start with an Excel sheet, a Word document. You can start with the simplest of simple things that you already have access to build it out so that you understand it. And also, if you do end up getting help, and that could be help with whether it's an independent contractor, even if it's local people who want to support you and help you whichever way possible, it's easy for you to understand and for them to understand. So you have your systems, because my system 10 years plus ago does not look like my system now. So my system then, I work with what I had, but you want to work with what you have so you're not overextending yourself, so that you can build it smartly and, just like Star says, strategically, so that you can build the brand that you're looking for and be able to create that exposure so you can have your small structure, have your business side of it, but also still be able to build the brand visibility without feeling like you're spending all this money, you have to get all these programs, because you also want to make sure that, oh, maybe I have to tweak something and I'm spending all this time and money into something, and I may have to completely, change the system, because this may not be what people need, but if I twist it a little bit, then it's going to be a whole game changer. So you don't want to spend as much time. You want to definitely make sure you do something that's simple, but it's still a structure so that you can extend out to really build something that's beautiful, and that also, like Star said, a legacy that can last for a long time.
Yeah, and even to add on to that one, yeah, like definitely you don't need the most expensive anything really to like get started, especially when you're trying to prove your concept to begin with. Like, for example, I can definitely say that with regards to how I redid everything, Because before, everything with Mitsu's was pretty linear. I go, like find the vendor or like the artisan, and just like it was pretty like cut and dry. But for example, with what I'm building out now, it's a little bit more interactive, like, yeah, definitely more interactive with like how I approach it. And one of even the examples that I could use too, even with regards to like how you would have to shape different things, is initially when I was getting the artist on board, I had a whole entire like form and questionnaire. Oh my God. So like it was great, but then I had to remember who I was asking to fill this out. And those are artists and those are studios, right? And we already know, well, okay. In the art world, the artists and studios already have this thing called studio time, which is usually when they're in season, busy, working and all of that stuff. So I had to basically adjust how I even requested any questions for them. So instead of having them like do this whole entire form, which had a lot of great questions, still does, but I told everyone like pause a second. So for example, everyone that was looking to like come on board, and of course I already like explained before that I wanted to start very small so that I can make sure that my structure was set up for when I do look to expand slowly but bigly. I went from having like that whole entire form to being like, hold on, pause a second. Actually, here are the two type of informations that I want you to send me, because I'm pretty sure that I can cut down your time by like 90%. It ended up doing that, and I was able to like switch out like how I worded the form, and also what kind of questions I would need later on. So there is that. One thing I did want to tap on was with regards to visibility, especially because like it, from a few conversations that we had, it made me also realize that you do, well, two things. One, never equate visibility with like money being
Yeah.
made, right?
Mhm.
It's literally just getting your name out there. It is very important because, like I said, you do want to build trust with people so that they're not just like, I don't even know that you exist. But at the
That
same
part.
time, it is not the thing that as entrepreneurs you should be like really focusing on being like the numbers, because you're usually not going to get the like money, actual like
Mhm.
money
Yeah.
from there, but you're going to at least get your word out. Okay, so there's that. And then two, being careful too, like if you, for example, like have a job, like, so you want to be able to be smart, strategic, know how to play the game, but like not in a way where it's like competition, or like where like someone could just like search you up and be like, oh, okay, that's cute, you're fired, like, so it's like,
So you're talking about in relationship if you have like a full-time job, right?
yeah,
So
like if you
okay,
have
just for
any kind of job,
clarification for
like,
people. So if you have a full-time job,
or any
that's what,
kind, like
or
it doesn't
part-time,
even
yeah.
necessarily have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, like because it is one of those things where of course like people do look, and especially if let's say like you're going inside of a new industry. I mean, you're going inside of an industry that is in competition with where you worked.
Oh
You
yeah.
especially, yeah, need to be
Hmm.
careful with how you show yourself. And
Yeah.
also, I don't know if every company does it, but a lot of corporate companies definitely do, where you want to make sure that you never signed like intellectual property rights, because that's when you're going into like a situation of, okay, they
Yeah.
can actually like take your brand from you.
Hmm.
So it's just about just like being smart, figuring out how you want to do it. But I do think that with this triangle, like instead of like line, you do want to try your best to figure out how to balance all three,
Yeah.
basically.
No, I think that is important to piggyback off of what you said in terms of if you have a full-time job, especially if you're in the same market that your company is, that who you work for and what you're trying to build, because they could also look at it in terms of clientele as well. Not even
True.
though it may not be something that you're intentionally doing, it's a very gray area. So that's the only thing that you may just have to want to do research. Obviously, if you're in two separate industries and this has nothing to do with each other, then you just do it,
More like,
strategically and in the way that it's really more so if you guys are in the same industry, in the same market, and there is a possibility that they could think that their current clientele could potentially be your clientele, and then
mhm.
that's when they're like, hold up, like this is a messy area. My last thing I did want to mention is when it comes to branding, because there's two different ways people can do branding. They do business branding, which is really where you're promoting your business, what you do, who you serve, things that matter. And there's also personal branding. So a lot of times when people have business, whether they're building it out solo, whether they have a team, or it's because they have multi brands. So they do have different things that they actually serve, they have different clientele that they use. They have a personal brand, and a personal brand is really where you're putting yourself out there. So you're putting yourself, whether that is through podcasts, whether that's through just you being more active on social media. And just like Star said, don't ever really equate brand visibility and promotion to monetization. Now, obviously, there's different ways between the different platforms and different followings, but I don't ever tell people to do that. Typically, when you're being visible, I kind of look at it as a way for people to prove your authenticity and who you are. So you're building the value that people can trust you. They can see you. They're like, okay, you're a person, like you know what you're talking about. Like there's actually proof and things behind who you are and what you do versus the monetization. Because I feel like if you're just doing it for monetization, sometimes it can look a little bit unauthentic. Because if you're just trying to do it because you're trying to post a lot or you're just trying to get views or things of that manner, that's great. But if you're looking at that in the ways to build your actual business out, you're is not a good way to look at it, because trying to look at control your following, trying to control the comments, things of that manner. If you're looking at that, you're going to be spending less time on what matters, and that is your business and the clients. And the thing about it is too, with visibility, the same with all of us, even if you're on social media, like a lot of times, whether you're scrolling, you're looking, sometimes there's people who are watching you that may never interact with anything that you post, but they'll come back months or a year later, be like, oh my God, I seen when you did X, Y, and Z. And you're like, I don't see their name anywhere on any of these posts, but they're watching you. Even when some people are getting inspired by you, or just they're in a different place in their life and they are not at a point where they feel comfortable or even think it's possible for them to post certain things. They're looking at what you're building, your brand, what you're putting out there. And sometimes you're touching people you've never even met before. So it's also one of those things where you're doing this, and that's why, even like how Star said, is you're building a brand, you're building a business, but you're building this as we formed our triangle to create your legacy and to create the future of what you're doing. But you're also doing it so that it's something that can also sustain whether you're in it, or even if you take your time off or you take your days off, so that it still can run without you constantly being in it all the time. And that's so important, because you want to be able to build what you're passionate about, what you love, your clientele, but also you don't want to give yourself, like yourself can't all be your business. You have to have your downtime, your time to yourself, because that's what keeps your business running and keeps your mind being able to evolve, think about different things, you be able to, expand all those exciting things that we love to do in, in the type of market that we're in, and also in your business itself.
And I guess like for me on in terms of like the last points that I wanted to add in is definitely one of the most important parts though is like making sure to just, if you're working on visibility, checking out your back end. A lot of the times you do have like dashboards and things of that nature that can actually help you figure out if you're going the right direction. And even within that, like using, for example, like things like heat maps, or so that you can see what the touch points are, what people are really looking at, what people don't necessarily connect with yet, and just like figuring out how you want to basically shape it or like navigate and move and things of that nature. So just wanted to throw that in there for sure. So on with that, because like I know that Ty and I can definitely go like on and on for
Oh,
it, because
100%.
like,
Like,
I feel like the amount of examples that we could lean into is just like
oh my goodness. Like, listen, like if I go back through the history of not just us, but people we've talked to and people that,
yeah,
like, when I tell you, it is definitely very important, and it's also good for people to really understand the difference behind it, so that they can make sure that they're not doing things or buying products more than what they need at that time. And the same thing, like what Star said, I will say actually one more thing real quick.
I know.
The same thing about your market. Like that's very important. There's two things, and we have talked about this in a previous video, but making sure you even do your own market research, seeing like
Yeah.
what you have. Is it something that people want? Is it something that's actually something that's that's going to be something that people are going to receive? And two, once you launch it, or once you even have like a beta or in the beginning phases, get the feedback from people. Be able to take that, because that's what's going to help you tweak it and be able to create something that's not just sustainable, but something that's actually going to be able to be consistent over years to come.
And also remember, visibility isn't always just online. Like it is also in person. It is also
Mhm.
from the connections that you make with people, being kind to people or being an ass. Like you choose your, you know, like
Your own
adventure, as Spice
battles,
says.
listen.
Because it's kind of like those are the impressions that are going to like really be the ones that matter. So maybe, for example, like just as we were saying, like about online, like even if, for example, someone can meet you and your product or service does not necessarily talk to them as a person,
Mhm.
trust me, chances are they know somebody else and they can
Yes, 100%.
unlock like some sort of a door.
Hmm.
So like this way, any other conversation that they interact with someone in, you literally have a champion there for you. Like,
Yes.
and they'd be like, well, I may not have trusted, you know, tried this yet, but I already know this really do. Usually it's going to be really cool founder before like the
Yes.
product. So that it's like, I could bet the person, you take your risk like elsewhere, but I trust them enough for you to be recommended about like that
Exactly.
person. Yeah, so with that said, as we see the top, you know, like the topic can definitely go into various ways from line to triangle. But as always, like the answer really is like the why. Like, why are you looking to start it this specific way? Or like, can you juggle all three? Can you do it without overburning yourself? So, with all that said, if this conversation spoke to you while you're here, definitely please drop a comment, share your thoughts, and let us know which topics or founders you'd love to see features next on Authentic Ambitions. And until next time, keep building, keep growing, and stay inspired. Bye.
Bye.